my screen. Screen to share. Now, if anybody sees anyone pop in, just let me know or I'll let them in, because sometimes they come in later and then I don't know when to let them in. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So tonight, guys, I'm going to, now I did a lesson, I think it was lesson 3 that taught agents. If you want to know what an agent is, go and look at that, because it kind of explains the theory behind agents. So that's like your foundation. But tonight, I just wanted to show you how to do work with agents. Okay. Now, the first thing I will say about agents is the agent frameworks are all within artificial intelligence. Okay, so you can build really advanced agents if you just have the confidence to ask the questions, and AI will help you build them end to end. Okay, so you don't need to be like an IT whiz to do this. AI will help you, but you've actually got to kind of understand what's going on a little bit, and you've got to have the confidence to go about and do it. The second thing around agents is agents can do lots of different things in lots of different modalities. Okay, but the goal of an agent is you give it some sort of defined or tangible output, and then it will work autonomously to try and solve your problem. Okay, so you're going to have to describe that problem, but you also really want to be clear about what's going on with the thinking and the data in the agent. So the agent that we're going to build first tonight, and I don't know how long it'll take, so I'll start with one. Compliance and checking something. So that might be you're auditing something, or you're flagging exceptions, or you're gating some sort of process, or you want to check what transactions are doing what in your system. So agents are really, really good at that. And agents can read policy documents and make decisions on your behalf, and document and do other things. Right? Some agents, you might just want to do some kind of calculation. So that doesn't really need an API key. It's just, you want to build a piece of software that will go off and do a calculation with an input. So that's like building a traditional application, but agents will help you build that application. Novel content creation. So if you want an agent to have some sort of task, or write some sort of strategy, or produce some content, or write tweets for your business web page, or agents can be built to do that. Agents can also be configured into audit workflows. So you might get an application for something. You might want to check that application about a bunch of rules. You might want to input some feedback into that agent, and then it processes some data and gets some output. Now, pretty much all business processes go through some sort of framework like that. The thing with this is, though, there's kind of two modalities to that. There's tools like N8N, which help you kind of build flows in like a graphical version, but you can also build agents that can go through steps with code. Okay, and you can also fork them as well. So you don't just have to have one flow, you could have different treatment under different conditions. So you can kind of have sort of choose your own adventure flows. Pure knowledge work agents, retrieving things, summarizing things, synthesizing things, creating a question and answer bot, that kind of thing, that can be done with agents. You can also connect agents to tools, like the internet itself, or to APIs, or to data sources that you define, or could just be on the web. So it can go off and do like investigative work on your behalf. You can also turn agents into conversational engines. So you can train an agent to, say, do customer service, and then obviously you ask it, random questions within bounds, and the agent will answer the questions. And then you've got event-driven agents. So they're agents that just sit there watching something. So it might be, you know, I'm following a certain piece of news. I want to connect to this news source, and I want you to just run a summary every day of what's happening with that news. That's an example of that. The next one is the harness you put the agent in. Now, there's a whole series of agent frameworks. So LangGraph is one, LangChain is one, CrewAI, Claude Code. These are kind of like the programming languages that kind of run the agent on your behalf. Now, you do not need to know all of those frameworks. The AI actually knows all those frameworks. So you can kind of write code. I mean, it's useful to know what you're using, but you can basically work with the AI to say, you know, this is the agent I want to build. Which one should I use? And it will probably suggest one. And then when the agent gets built, when you've got, it's sort of like you get an agent building an agent, it'll decide on that and it'll write the code for you. You've also got to look at the interface that you're going to use to control your agent. You can just do it in a command line interface. So, you know, you run your terminal on your computer. You can run an agent on a computer, and then you can do a piece of agentic work, and the output will be put back on the computer. The second one is you can put like a Streamlit application or something, you know, simple over the top, so it gives you a bit of a user interface. And the other thing I'd say about that one is you can start off with a CLI, and then you can kind of upgrade it to a user interface if you want to make it more accessible for others. But you can go all the way through to a full stack application as well. And one of the real sort of tricks is you can build agent functionality into software. And not only can the agent interface with the data and the response, but it can also be used to programmatically change the user interface in the application. Now, that's a very advanced thing to do, but again, the AI can do it, and you can get some really, really awesome outcomes. If you are going to be using AI as part of your agent, which you almost always are, you've got to pick a model, like an API, or a local model, but mostly an API. And in that, I mean, you can pick pretty much all of the models. I'll probably use Anthropic's tonight, but OpenAI is good. Google's are very cheap. So if you want to run big context window and cheap, Google's really good. Anthropic, I think, is the brainiest at the moment. But OpenAI is very competitive as well, particularly on cost at the moment with some of their lighter models. You know, you've got to work out what your state and your data is. So does the agent need a database to write its results into? For simple agents, you don't need that. You can just write it to a file. But if you're trying to build an agent that's recording something somewhere, you've obviously got to think about that. You also got to think about the tools you give to the agent. So agents can actually go off and do things on your behalf. So they can go and look at a RAG model, or they can talk to MCP servers. MCP servers are like, what is it? Master Context Protocol. Like, it can basically go and control other applications. And you can actually build your own ones of those as well. But it can also just go and search the internet. They're the common ones. But also, if you're trying to build something with a weather service or something, or cattle prices, I think we did one with Bruce like that. You could go.
Context protocol, man. Sorry.
What was it, Ren?
It's model context protocol.
Yeah, model context protocol. So that's getting advanced. But you've also got to look at how autonomous this thing is. Is it a one shot? Is it a loop? Is there a human in the loop? Every agent profile is different, and you get to decide. You've also got to think about the triggers. So what kicks this agent off? Is it listening to something and it does something when something happens? That would be off an API. Or is it something that you schedule, or something you run yourself? Okay. So again, complicated. You'll see it when we do it. And then the third one is, don't think that you need to run agents on cloud or on some sort of server. You can run agents on your own computer. So you can build an agent to do a piece of work on your own computer. It's completely within the bounds of your machine. And then at the end, you could throw it away. Now, if the piece of work you're trying to do is big enough or complex enough, that's a pretty cool thing to do. If you could save 30 hours by building an agent to do something for you, knock yourself out, go and do it. You can also obviously set up a server with an agent, whether you run a server yourself, or you can go and buy like a Hertzner server. You can run it in an environment like that, or you can go up to cloud with it, and there's a lot of tools out there now. Now, here's another thing that you might not know. Once you have built your agent locally and it's working on your computer, you can work with the agent to help deploy your agent to cloud. So you can get the agent to build a database for you. You can get an agent to deploy all your code onto GitHub. You can then deploy your GitHub code onto something like, Runway. Your database might be something like Neon. There's lots of different choices, and all the AI agents now talk to the other AI agents. So if we look at Runway as a platform, it's actually got agentic capability built into it as well. So if you deploy an agent to a Runway server and then it finds an error, you can actually use Runway to fix it, or you could use Claude to fix it as well. Okay, so the agents can build the agents, and then the agents know how to deploy themselves, and then the agents can check for errors and then fix your agent. Does that make sense? And none of this is particularly, I'm using a word salad of technical terms here. None of it is very hard technically if you just follow the process. Okay. So yeah, blah, blah, blah. Now, just a couple of other tips. Sometimes we work in professional environments. I certainly wouldn't go and get confidential work information and chuck it into an agent. I don't think that's very wise. So just a warning there, do not do that. But a lot of organizations do want to innovate, and nothing really stops you from, building a data structure and creating some synthetic data to build some sort of agent that has utility. Put a bow around it and say, look, I've got this problem. I've structured this agent. Now the agent is doing the work. If you are able to build those and you are able to have sophisticated conversations with your management, there's no reason why, if it's not any company data, if it's just synthetic data. So don't think, I haven't got the data, I haven't got permission, therefore I can't build an agent. Okay, so follow your IT rules, but you could run a machine on the side that doesn't have any data of work on it at all. You could build agents, you could test it all, you could build the whole thing, and then you could go and showcase the thing, not even connected to their network. And I think that's what companies should do. I think they should create safe spaces for people to be able to do that. And that's how we innovate, because then you actually have working software, working code. You've got somewhere for an IT team to take over and do all the, the security work, et cetera, okay? So that's how I would go about it. And there's just this final couple little tips. Agent capabilities don't have to sit in isolation. So if you get into vibe coding, if you use Cursor or Replit or just Claude Code, you can, in certain functions of your application, integrate agent technology. Okay, so don't think, my app that just transposes data from one sort of section to the other. You can actually say to the agent to talk to the code and say, look, I really want to make a decision here, but I want you to build an agent for me to make that decision to help my application work better. And then the logical extension to that as well is you can actually get the agents to have an interplay with the user interface of the application. So that means, you can create kind of dynamic workflows. So it might be, I apply for something, I tell you I'm under 18, therefore it goes and does some other test for people under 18. And the AI is sort of generating the user interface at each step. Now, I'd caution on that is expensive at scale, because obviously you're doing a lot of calls. But if you want to build some sort of application to have a real utility, you can go about doing that. So think about where you can put your agents. Okay. Is everyone following so far?
Yep.
All right. So now we're going to put the sort of the theory aside. Let's just put that one away. All right. So what I'm going to do tonight is, and I sort of pre-prepared a few of these steps just so in case it's not as slow, but I'm going to just build an agent. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a scenario. Okay. So the first question I asked tonight is, now the scenario I'm going to go through is, you're working at a company and you want to monitor credit card transactions to make sure that the company's credit card transactions are in policy. Okay. So the first thing you could do is go and obviously get your credit card policy, but you can also just ask the AI. You could just say, I am teaching a class tonight on AI agents, and I want to build an agent to review credit card transactions within a company. Can you find some relevant examples in Australia of policies? So the only reason I'm doing this is to show you can just use AI to go and grab an example. Okay, so I work for a university, so it's gone off and found a bunch of university ones. Da-di-da-di-da. Okay, so we could go find one of those and we could download it. Now, the one, just so I don't have to download it, I've actually picked one tonight. Melton City Council. So we've got this credit card policy here, and it's about 9 pages of everything that happens at Melton City Council. Okay. Now, obviously, if you had thousands of credit card transactions from all the staff at Melton City Council, that would be pretty boring, right? Actually go through and do the review. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to say, I have picked Melton City Council. See attached for their policy. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to say, I would like you to go and create. No, hang on. The first step I'd like you to do is tell me what finance system the City of Melton uses, and go off and find for me what the data structure would be like for credit card transactions. And I'd like you to create me a synthetic set of transactions that that would be indicative of 1, transactions that are clearly in policy. 2, transactions that are grey or need more information. 3, transactions that are out of policy but look fair and reasonable. So they just need follow-up. And 4, transactions that look fraudulent or, very much in need of compliance action. Okay, so you can write a post like that. And what it'll do is, and this functionality here, like, okay, yeah, that's a nice teachable detail. It knows it's using Tech 1. So it's got everything it needs. It's got a lovely technical, so this is agent functionality, right? Each of these calls that are coming through is actually just agent functionality. And that's why the more expensive versions of AI are much better than the cheaper ones, because they're going to give you more of this functionality. So just giving someone the model isn't the power anymore. So I'm going to stop this because it'll be kind of boring. It'll just go off and create an Excel file. And here's one I created earlier. So yeah, so you can kind of see, I've put 300 transactions in here. And it's got all the data. And I reckon it's probably in the right format for the finance system of that company, because it'll be like a spec within the module. Yeah. Okay, so we've sort of said, okay, we've got our problem, we want to do this thing. We've gone through, we've looked at what finance system, we've created the structure, then we've created a data set. Okay, now the AI has generated all this data. So if I put any of this data in, it's not confidential, because it's all Fantasyland data, right? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let's just stop that one now. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to pull up Claude. And in this case, I'm going to use Claude Code this time, because what I want to do is I actually want to write code. Now, CoWork would probably do this as well. But in this case, I'm going to use Claude Code. Now, open folder, documents, credit card agent. Cool. So what I'm going to do.
So when do you use Claude Code versus CoWork?
I find Claude Code, there's actually a lot of overlap between the two, Sanjeev. And a lot of the functions you write in Claude Code are the same, but Claude CoWork, I think CoWork's better for kind of knowledge work tasks. So, I want to write a report.
Yep.
Or it's probably not pure coding. It's probably a little bit watered down, and the other one will write full software and it won't stop till it's done, whereas CoWork will kind of sort of be a bit more kind of knowledge worky.
Okay.
But all I've done here is when I change that, so obviously when you open Anthropic on your computer, there's really 3 tabs. There's chat, which is the traditional. Then there's CoWork, which is kind of like give it a project and then do sort of knowledge work. And then you've got the coding one, which is probably more hardcore. It's going to throw more tokens at something. But here I would go about writing a prompt. And so I would say in the working folder, I have got a set of mock credit card questions in the file titled transactions blind.csv. This is a mock set of transactions that have been extracted from the Melton City Council Technology One finance system. Okay. I would like to build an AI agent that lives in the CLI for my computer that will audit the transactions as if I was the financial controller at Melton City Council, following all rules and regulations. And I'd like the examination to follow the Melton credit card policy.md, which is included. I am a beginner at running applications, so please structure all the code and my files nicely with clear instructions on how to run the agent in the terminal myself and to set up my API key correctly. I want to use an Anthropic API key. Let's just see. So it has access to this folder, which is just documents, CC credit card agent. It's going to go off and read everything in there, probably try and get a read of what's going on. You can also, like this is building software from the ground up, but if you have an agent or something, so you can go and download an agent off GitHub or something, you could actually edit that agent this way as well. So go and search for
So you're saying similar agents are there, so why not use those agents itself and build on top of it? Is that what you're suggesting, Tim?
Yeah, so so obviously people publish agents online.
Yep.
And if you wanted to, you could go and find an agent that does roughly what you want.
Yep.
You could download the code of it or connect to the repo and do a fork yourself. And then you can edit that agent to your purpose. So, but you can also just build them as well.
Okay.
And the cool thing about Claude Code, as opposed to Cowork, is it'll just sit there and think for ages, and then all of a sudden it'll just vaporize stuff, and it'll just create a whole bunch of code really, really quickly. So it's going off and thinking about it. It's obviously in the background processing what it's going to do. Yeah. So I'll just give it. So here you can kind of see what's going on. So it's already sucked down 37,000 tokens out of 1 million. So that's your token window. And then these are your, you get a certain amount per week. You get a certain amount per 5 hours. And there's this new tool called Design. I might show you that next week. That's really cool. So yeah, you can kind of see what's going on. And hopefully this thing gets a boogie on in a minute. You can also change this, the level of thought. I always just leave it on extra high because I just find it makes less mistakes. So you get economies of scale, but you can set that at different thinking levels as well.
And if you set it at different lower levels, does it go faster or slower?
It'll probably go faster, but it'll make heaps more mistakes.
Yeah, be less. Yeah.
It's kind of like the amount of compute you're throwing at it. So you can use like less compute for longer, or you can use a heap of thought and it runs out quicker.
Yep.
But I rarely sort of run it out in, 5 hours is a pretty big stretch. And if I was using it, it's quite a lot. You have to be hammering it I've managed to like knock it off in about 4 hours before if I was coding. But typically just go to lunch or something and then, it refreshes. Okay, so now, it's actually thought it through. It's probably gone and done its design. So in the background, you can't see, it's a bit more, if you were doing this in CoWork, it would probably have, you'd probably see the code getting written. It's all sort of nice. Okay, so now it's written the Python file. It's written the requirements file. It's creating the environment file. Now, this is not actually a big piece of software, right? Because you're not building all the front ends and back ends. This is just going to live in the command line. So it's really just going to do the grunt work for me. So as you can see, that requirements will be like the system environment requirements. That's the Python file. It's actually got the agent code in it. I'm not sure what else it's going to come up with, but it'll probably do a README. There we go, a README. So the README kind of will tell you how to, it's got some sort of cache. Okay, the agent, it's one and self-contained. It's a step-by-step run and setup. And then it's got these files. For you run it, start with limit 10. It costs cents. Confirm your keyed environmental working, and then lets you eyeball the report style before committing to the full 5 to 10 minute few dollar run. Okay. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So I'd like some step-by-step help on how to run my agent. Okay, so we'll just ask it. Okay, so in this case, it's going to help me set up my environment as well. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You can actually, you can also kind of, what would you say? You can ask it to basically give you the instructions to do it yourself, but it can kind of do stuff for you as well. Okay, so I've got to go to this website here. I've got to make sure I've got some credits in there. And then I want to paste it into the environment file. Once you've done that, I need your help to open the environment file. There we go. So we've got this environment file open. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my Anthropic API, which is here. I'm going to create a key. I'm going to call this CC101. Again, these codes, don't share these with people because people can do bad things.
Yeah.
So we'll go in here and we'll just paste that key there, and we'll go save, close. So now the application's got its thing. Okay, don't change anything else. Don't put quotes around the key. Don't put a space after the E sign. Then save and close the window. Tell me you're done. Okay, I'm done. Can you give me the instructions to run my agent in the command prompt? So I'm just opening a new command prompt. That's one of these. Okay, cool. So we grab this. This is just change directory to users Timothy Beaver document CC agent. So all that does is get us to the folder that we want to run the code out of. Enter. We then activate our virtual environment that we already have installed. Boom. So that vem there means it's running. Yeah, so you'll know it worked when there's a vem. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run the agent. So all we're doing is saying Python audit agent limit 10. So what that means is it's going to go and review 10 transactions.
Yep.
Bang. So it's audited. It's obviously doing them in batches of 5. So really probably what the agent's done, and if you go and inspect the code, it's probably just sending 5 over, get the response, write them back. 5 over, get the response, get them back. Now it's looking at the cross-transaction pattern detection. There we go. Clearly compliant, there's 4. Need follow-up 2. 4 in technical breach. 0 integrity. 0 cross-transaction patterns. Okay, so we've written it out in these formats. So if I go and look at the audit report, there you go. So it's actually given us the compliance tier, the policy clauses that are issues with the ones that are issues, and then it's given us the rationale completely for it. And in the actual report, it probably, yeah, it's actually given, it's already done, like it's given us dates, when it was run, what the data set was, what's going on. Okay, so that example is very, very simple, but you could extend that. You could not make them MD files. You could actually, you know, say at that next step, I want you to build me a report. So if I was just to say, Like if I just show you like in Claude, it doesn't really matter. You could just put that in and say, hey, could you write me this as a report? So that's kind of, yeah. So we just built a really simple AI agent that does some work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. That big did, yeah.
Is there another agent someone would want to build?
So Tim, how do you put this into you were saying into an application or
Okay.
into a workflow or something, because that will be the next step, isn't it?
Let's try that, Sergey.
Mm.
Okay, that works pretty cool. But let's step it up a notch. And let's create a user interface on top of our agent. So the end user can type in some metadata about the transaction set and also upload the CSV file into a nice, neat little user interface. Okay, so we've got our base level
Yep.
in the command. Now it's going to go, okay, now I need to go and architect what I need to put the user interface on top. And we'll build that up.
Yep.
So then you just get your data, put it into the CSV folder, and then run it through this.
Yeah, so in this one, it'll probably build sort of a user interface we can upload the data into.
Yep.
And then run it off the top of it.
Yep.
You could also probably get it to the point where you could build some sort of executable file, so you could run it, you know, have it on your desktop, and you could just open it. Like instead of having to type all the stuff in, you just hit a button, runs a batch file, and it just launches.
Yeah.
But just remember, like, this is really simple, right? File, rules, outcome. You could have any level of complexity in the middle, and if you can describe it properly, the AI agent will go and build an AI agent that will do it. Okay, so as predicted, it's gone off. It's going to use Streamlit. So it's going to go edit the files to incorporate those new components. And it's going to edit everything. Now, this isn't a full stack application because it's just using kind of a, like, I think Streamlit's like a sort of a Python enabler, but you can get some pretty good results with it. But then you could do it as another step, like let's build a, you know, an enterprise app for it as well. So it's sort of put our logic in. And if you just sort of follow this, if you do it enough times, and you might have another chat window open and you just say, hey, what's happening here? Like, you can just sort of, like, it'll tell you what's happening. So you can kind of learn. And if you do it enough times, you just get familiar with it. So I'd say if you're not familiar with this stuff, just try it. And if you don't know, just ask it, and it'll work you through it. And that's really how I learned. I mean, I did a lot of courses on AI agents in the early days. I even looked at, you know, like base coding, and I looked at CrewAI mostly. And then I started building some simple agents, but doing them myself. And then I just realized, like, the AI just knows all this stuff, so it just does it for you. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, why bother? And that's sort of the purpose of this training. Like, I'm trying to give you skills that you can just go and do. You don't have to go and do a computer science degree to be useful with this stuff. Okay, so I assume that's the UI, Audit UI there. There it is. Still got this hanging around. And you could also do this. You know, you could say, and this was one I did with some school kids. I said, I want to build an agent that will look at an assignment and it will look at my piece of work, which I will upload. And then I want you to build 12 agents. And each agent has a different job. The first one, I want to look at, you know, my grammar. The second one, I want you to look at my sentence structure. The third one, I want you to look at the coherence of my arguments. The fourth one, I want you to go and use a tool to go and do some research to find whether I've covered all the topic areas. The next one could be, then I want you to review, you know, the composition. Where could I improve? And then I want you to take all of that feedback and feed it back to the end user as, you know, feedback from the best teacher in the principles of the Socratic method, blah, blah, blah. And it will go and build you that agent. And the results are really astonishing. So you don't just have to build like one agent that does one thing. You can also build multi-agents that all work together, and then an agent that synthesizes and then quality checks its own work. So, okay, so it's already updated that. Cool. So we're already in the right folder. Hopefully I can just grab that one because it's already running. Welcome to Streamlit, blah, blah, whatever. Okay, beautiful. So it's just opened up my agent. And I can type in Timothy Beaver, Melton City Council, period covered April 2026. No context. Upload the file. List 15 rows this time. Now it's running the agent. So essentially,
That's cool.
It's just doing the same thing, basically.
Yep.
Just got a front end to it. And then I might add to that. I might say, okay, cool, I get my results. I want you to use tool use to write me a Word document with the report in the Melton City Council colours. I'll see if we can pull that off.
Yeah.
We'll be able to do it.
I'm sure it'll be possible. Yeah.
So yeah, think about like your business quoting, quality compliance. It might be checking whether you're meeting regulatory obligations. Yeah, so it's just formatted the output. If I went back and I said, so that's sort of running on a server now. So if I hit Control Z, that'll kill the server. So now the server doesn't work. And let's go back to Claude Code and say, that's awesome. But I was wondering if we could add another advanced AI feature that will take the results of the audit and format it into a professional Microsoft Word document that can also be downloaded for the audit committee. Now, if you had the audit committee report structure, you could probably just add that there and tell it where it is, and it would go off and actually build an agent that would write whatever content you have in the right format.
Yep.
And again, even if you're a beginner at this, there's nothing I have done that's not just plain English. Like I mean, yes, I've opened a terminal and yes, I've typed in some things, but the AI has actually told me what to type. I haven't just known, have I?
No, you just type it in, yeah.
I still think 99% of people won't try this because it's too hard. And programmers don't like it because it takes away their role, so they reject it as well. So basically, you've got this powerful, really powerful thing, and it's like, and if I wanted to, I could say to the agent, hey, this is a Streamlit app. It's good for local stuff, but I'd actually rather run it on a server. Can you go and help me deploy it onto Vercel for me? And I'll go, yeah, okay. And it'll just walk you through what's required. But Vercel's like a sort of like a Google Cloud sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually pulling a skill in here. So when, you know how before I said that the agents can use tools? So if we're using Anthropic and we use the right model, it can draw on the tool. Therefore, when you run it, it should be able to actually do the analysis in order and then generate the output. And if there is, for some reason, an error or something doesn't work, just say it doesn't work. And it'll say, oh, I need like the console in the browser. And just to show you what that looks like, you know, you might go in here and you click, I think it's more tools and then developer tools. And in here in this console, you'll see errors in here. So you can just cut and paste those errors back to the agent, and the agent will go, oh, I know what's wrong. And they'll go off and fix it for you. So even if it doesn't work, you can just work with it to kind of fix your app. Okay, so this is coding for us. Okay, so we need to add this to the dependencies. We need to add that into the audit agent Python. We need to create the Python to create the Word report to render the doc in a structure that's appropriate to this structure. So it's going to go and design a report structure. So when you write Word, Python can be used to write Word documents. So it can help you format the document end to end. But in this case, Claude Code is not just going to say, hey, use a generic skill, so it's different every time. It'll actually go and look at the situation, look at the data you've just run, write an appropriate structure for that, and then go and build that for you. So what we're essentially doing is we're sort of adding a sub-module now. And what it'll do is it'll connect the first module to the second module. And so you'll run it, you'll get your reports, and then it'll say, right, next step. And it'll grab those two reports, and then it'll run it through the Python, and then the Anthropic will then write the code, and then it will probably repackage it somehow with a skill, and then it'll append it to the user interface. The problem I think we've got as a society is coding has traditionally been something IT's done. We've had like a department for that. Whereas if you think of AI, like, remember my initial lessons where I said AI is like a rubric cube?
Yeah.
You can't manipulate the rubric cube without code. So if you are to become a good, like a high-performing AI person, you must be able to learn how to write code. The benefit this time around, though, is the AI can code for you. So, but how do you roll this out in a company when you've still got, oh, we can't run code. You know, in fact, a lot of companies, they'll lock this down completely. You won't even be able to run code on your machine, which has real security implications. But then how do you innovate as an organization? And that's why I think, you know, those burner machines is a good idea, because you need somewhere to go and actually kind of innovate and build these things. Because if everything has to go through like an IT pipe, you know what it's like. You walk in with an idea, a business idea, and it's like, oh, I need IT to help me. And like, yeah, put your name on the list, and 6 months they might get around to it.
I suppose the other trick is to learn to be able to just pull the data without, you know, names and ranks and serial numbers, and just use the data as data. But yeah, in a big organization, that's not going to happen either.
Yeah. And that's why I think in the early days, I think we have to work on use cases that aren't sensitive. So this is probably a terrible example, right? This is transaction data. There's probably confidential stuff in there. So it's probably not something you would do at work, this one, but you know, I'm just trying to teach you how to build an agent. Okay, so we're going to run this again. And let me just close that down.
So Tim, a real life one is I built one the other day that took in my engineering design model and compared it against the engineer's space gas structural design model. And so it effectively went through and compared it beam by beam, column by column, rafter by rafter, and went, this says 310 UB40, that says 310 UB40, happy. And then they gave him a report at the end of it saying it all matches.
Yeah, and how many jobs in your career do you have where you just have to do some boring ass task like that? And like, I mean, I've been explaining this to you for, what is it, an hour? But if I was doing this without having to go through all the rigmarole, I could build this in like 10 minutes. So some tasks that are boring, I can just punch it out, do the work, and that's that. So we'll see if that worked. So we'll run another 2 batches of 10 transactions, and then we'll write it'll see if it writes the report. But yeah, I mean, and the person whose job it is to look through all the credit card transactions and write a report on every single one, they're kind of screwed with this if this goes in. Like, but I also look at it kind of from the lens of how much value is it to have one person looking through 30,000 transactions? Like, run it through the agent, break it all down, and then you can have that person actually working on the compliance measures. Like, because once you have the report, you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff you need to follow up, rather than spending all your time running through a list.
Do the follow-up.
There we go. So now it's actually going to do it as a feature. Okay, so we'll see what happens. So that's kind of cool. It didn't do it automatically. It's going to do it for us. But yeah, like, everyone sort of thinks that this AI agent thing is some like IT project. They're going to automate everyone's jobs. I would just say, no, just train all your workers on how to do this. And then when they come across some boring, stupid task, they can just go and do it. And then, okay. So there we go. So it's even formatted it for me.
Yeah.
So it's written me the document. And if I wanted to make that, if I wanted to change the color scheme of that document, or I wanted that as a PowerPoint document, I could just say, hey, go and use the PowerPoint skill. And it'll go refactor it all. It'll create me a PowerPoint deck. And I could even feed in the PowerPoint deck I want to copy, and it'll go and do it.
Can we use the Milton City Council template? Because this is just a Word document, isn't it?
Yeah, we could try that.
I'm just saying, because
yeah, we could just chuck their template in, and it would go and look at it, Sanjeev, and try to copy it.
Okay.
Because what's happening, Sanjeev, is it's writing JavaScript to write the outputs. It's not, and that's why I think Microsoft is completely screwed, because in the past, human beings formatted documents.
Yep.
Now the AI can do probably a better job than a human, to be honest. So really, that product now, all those features, you don't really need the features anymore. You can kind of abstract them.
No, absolutely, because I'm using Google. So same thing, putting it in a template, I have to use Google LLM, and I'm still not getting the best outcome. Actually, you have to really give it the template and then work on it to get to the final output that you really want. You have to go through at least 3-4 iterations to get there. That's okay.
I'm finding, so early on when AI was sort of going around, Word and Excel and Microsoft Documents were a complete pain in the backside, because as you know, if you take a Google Doc or a Libra Doc into Office, it always looks crappy. But because the other vendors support an open interoperable standard, and so that standard interfaced well with AI, and it could just read it. It wasn't all encrypted. Like it could just see the structure, and it could work with it. I think it's Markdown format with the fully advanced version. But Claude, what they've gone and done is they've probably gone and got 10,000 documents, and then they've actually wrote like JavaScript knowledge. So the agent now has the skill to write JavaScript to write well-formatted Word documents. I find that works better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, and if I wanted to, I'm not going to complete this, but I'll show you what I mean. Oh, this is really great. This is really great. Could you give me some guidance and some options on how I could deploy this onto cloud with a username and password, so members of my team could use it as well? Now, obviously, you wouldn't do this at work, but I just want to show you that sort of the power of this. It'll probably go away and come up with some options if you wanted to deploy it. Now, you can security check things. You can deploy your code to servers. If you just follow the instructions, it'll all go through. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever built or tried to build a startup before. If you have fully working software, it's much, much easier to describe what you're trying to do and get a willing investor. And the amount of work it requires a developer to get it to production, if you actually have working software, is way, way, way easier. So yes, there is a path to make these things production, but in kind of, this sort of personal land, or if it's your own business or you're not using sensitive data, because I mean, you could use this sort of technology to build stuff for your own small businesses. There's not anything to do with financials or customer data. It could just be some product or service you want to build, or you might be a researcher. You can go and build something that'll help you do your research, etc. Okay, so Streamlit Community Cloud with a shared password. Yep, you could do that. You could use Railway with Docker. Yep, cool. Yeah, so to give you some options with native SSO. Take me through how I do this. Just far away. And I rarely start one of these little projects and can't get there. Like I almost never fail.
Yeah.
you will hit barriers and errors and bits and pieces, but like I rarely do anything that I can't do. And if I wasn't talking and stuff, I could probably have this up and running on a, like I could have this all nice, full stack, have it running on a server within, I don't know, probably 45 minutes or something. And so then you start to ask yourself, well, you know, if I have this big boring job that takes 8 hours, is it better just to go and build an agent to do the work for me, run it, get my output, and then chuck it in the bin?
Like a once use.
Yeah, but over time as well, you could probably build up a little library of them, you know, things that you have to do every year. Okay. This is one of the risks of obviously connecting this direct to your folder. If you're just connecting to a folder and you do something and it starts writing over, it's written over. So it can sometimes be better to kind of, you know, fork it, or, you know, when you get to a point you're happy, just back it up.
Or is this where committing to a GitHub would help?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't know how to use GitHub, which I'll be honest, I'm not great with it, you can work with AI to help you do that as well.
Exactly what I did. I had no idea 2 weeks ago, and now I use it all day.
Yeah. It's not that hard. It's really not. Do you have a GitHub account? Yeah, I have one. Cool. Is it installed? Yeah, it's installed. Will your team's data ever include real? Nah, let's do mock only. So Randall just said we should use GitHub, and then the AI said we should.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to completely deploy the thing because I bore the hell out of you, but yeah, like sit back and think about what you do in your business. What could you build? You could build chatbots.
Go for it. Go for it. No, so yeah, go Sandhya.
Oh, well, one thing that I was thinking of building was I'm looking to move to Geelong later this year. So I wanted to make an agent that could kind of summarize particular houses for rent in the areas that I wanted weekly, based on certain parameters. I did try to make it before, but it kind of hit a blockade when it came to the API part. It looked like I needed to be like not an individual trying to create something for myself, but I'm not sure if I was just doing something wrong or.
Yeah, that particular use case. So those websites make their money off you going to the website, and they really, really hate you sort of gathering the data.
Yep.
You get around it with a computer use agent. I did it on top of a tender website, and the computer use agent couldn't connect to it. But then the AI helped me around it with, like, I think it was a Cloudflare component that it put in the app. So it randomized the account. So the site couldn't tell it was a bot. But those websites are actively trying to stop bots across their sites. So that is one use case that is quite difficult, but I think it could be done. But I would say it'd probably be quite expensive to run, because you've actually have the computer use agents have to put visual data in and make interpretations. So it could work, but it would be it would be expensive to run, particularly at scale. Like if you were trying to run it for customers, it would be very expensive.
I see.
But if you just wanted to build it for yourself, yeah, you definitely could. I would try and probably check with, some of the computer use tools in Claude. I know Perplexity has a computer use, but again, to get computer use, it's quite an expensive
Okay.
license. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
fair enough. So, and Tim, I'll pick this up later with you because I have a problem in the office that I think can be really sorted out, but I think I'll call you and then take you through this whole problem, because the problem set is on two fronts. One is there are different systems actually. So there is one system which is a complete payment system, and there's another system which is onboarding system and then timesheeting system. And they operate in their own worlds. And sometimes people get underpaid, overpaid, while they have, because timesheets are not filled and you have to pay them at a particular date. All that nonsense happens. And sometimes background checks, etc., which is a separate issue, is also becoming a challenge sometimes. So how do you make sure that you're able to audit all of that and then reconcile on a daily basis, possibly? And the databases say 1,000-odd people, are working across the board. I think this can be done. My own feeling is it can be done. It's only because people are using different systems and they are just not integrated properly.
Yeah, and Sanjeev, on that problem, whenever you try to integrate this technology into enterprise systems, it's always challenging. But let's say you had a system running and you had 3 different systems with 3 different files, and there was someone in the middle that was doing some sort of process to make it all match.
Given in the loop. Yep.
You could probably ask those systems to extract the data for that day. And if it's not gigabytes of data, it's like, and you might even do the extract without like the personal details in there. It might just be kind of completely like a transaction number and what it's in there. Put those in some folder somewhere, build a local agent, and it just runs at a certain time on a day, and it'll just punch out any compliance issues. And so then at least the auditor can go, each day I'm doing my check and I'm putting, and you can put all the metadata of when it was run, what the inputs were, what the outputs were, and then if anyone wants to come and audit, they can go and look at that.
Okay. Because that will really help actually, if you ask me. And all this is tedious work for somebody, and you really don't want to spend time on it. No, great. No, thanks. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
And it is we are on Google, so I think Google is a good place to actually work all this out as well.
Yeah, you could probably do this, Sanjeev, on Google Anti-Gravity would probably eat this alive.
Okay.
If it's only simple stuff, you could probably use.
It is LLM.
Yeah, the Google Google Anti-Gravity is like an agent platform.
Okay.
But Google has their own Claude Code as well, so you might be able to use that.
That is Google LLM, is it? Or no?
It's Google's. What is Google's version of Claude Code in the terminal? Google CLI.
CLI, okay, yeah, okay.
So all you have to do is type that in and you'll be up and running.
Okay. Like you said, IT department has to give these licenses. I don't know what will be available, not available to users. You have to just get it across, that's all. All right.
Just on that real estate one, the other option is you can set up email notifications. So you can say, send me daily every house that's for rent in a certain postcode. And then once you get that email, you can point audit that and go, hey, search all these properties for me on known databases and filter out the ones that aren't on main roads, are with walking distance to a shopping centre, etc.
Let's.
So we're two-stage model basically instead of one stage.
I want to move to Geelong, and I'm a student, and I'm looking for rental opportunities. Don't build it, but help me think through an approach to look at domain.com.au and real estate.com.au somehow to quickly identify rentals that meet my criteria. I'd like to run a daily report at 8 a.m. So let's see what it comes up with. Yeah, so they did
There you go, first point.
Yep.
perimeter detection. The official APIs will cost you $50,000. Both sites have saved searches and email you new listings. So
Yeah, there you go.
as
And that is what Randall was saying. That is exactly what he was saying. Part B.
I see.
yeah, so scraping, you can do it, but you're going to be fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
So a mixture of B and A.
There you go. This is exactly what he was saying. Take the email.
So basically use their export, put it somewhere, and then ping that. And you could probably build an agent to connect to Google into your Gmail to pull that email down. And then once you've done that and it triggers that email happens, it's got like a listener, that's that trigger piece. Write it through. But again, I haven't built this before, but I'm pretty sure if I said, okay, write me a full spec on how to go about configuring the email, and then watching my inbox for the email, then extracting the data from Google Gmail with the right credentials, and then building me my own report with my own criteria. Walk me through how I'd build that architecturally. This is the right shape. Create a dedicated Gmail account. Don't mix this with your personal email. Clean OAuth scope. No risk of your script touching personal email. Set up to save searches on both sides. For each site, you want roughly 2 to 4 searches. So you can set all those up. Search 1, search 2, search 3. Log in, save search. Email site hygiene. Set up your Google filters that label these as these. 2 reasons, the parser. Gmail API access. You need OAuth 2 credentials to read it in. So go to that Google Cloud. Enable the API key for the project. So you can get an API key for Google. Configure OAuth.
That you've already done, is it?
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. I'm going to try it again.
It is. That's what he was saying. You just need to know the problem and just
figure out a way.
Figure out a way. Just figure out a way. Awesome.
Thank you.
And the last thing you could do is you could say, write me a prompt to get started with this.
Is it?
A Claude Code, but also write me a set of things I have to do to help Claude Code achieve the objective. It's exactly the right framing. Your what you have to do. It's cool, isn't it?
Seriously, man. This is,
So good.
by the way, yesterday I saw Tim, I think Anthropic has also launched a 20-minute session on how to build agents.
Yep.
How to build the best agents. I've not seen it yet. Have you seen this? I think it was yesterday
I have
because
seen it in my feed. I have not watched it, but you should watch it. They're the best. That's how you learn this stuff, I reckon. Just go direct.
because that is, yeah. But now they are talking about FDE. I don't know whether you have read that. I think it is called Future Deployed Engineers or something like that. Future Deployment Engineers.
No.
So essentially what used to be in the digital world, you had 3 skills required. Now they're talking about you need the domain skill, you need tech skill, and you need some consulting skill or strategy skill. So all 3 combined, you'll become the best guy to use either Anthropic or anything like this.
I don't want to brag, Sanjeev, but I've been saying that for 18 months, 2 years.
No, I know that.
It's you need a stack of skills. You need the problem-solving skills. You need the domain skills.
Exactly.
The cool thing about domain skills, though, is you can ask AI, but you can also go find someone with the domain skills. So that's your first thing. Then you actually need technical skills, but you actually don't need complete.
But that is exactly the point. Same thing.
Point that too.
Yes.
So you got the domain, you got the technical, and then you've actually got this last one. I think it's persuasive skills, communication skills, to be able to go and work with humans to make them want to come on the journey. And because you got to get through the governance and you got to get through all the stuff. So you've actually got to cut through. But I think what will happen is I think there'll be some organizations that this culture takes off, and those companies will just exponentially improve. And then you'll have other companies that block it all off, and then they're going to get exponentially screwed, basically.
So
100%.
I've already seen that. So one company I contract to has given their staff unlimited Anthropic tokens. So every person in the company's got unlimited Anthropic tokens. The other company has even had Copilot banned. That's the difference. And the company that has Anthropic licenses is currently employing, and the company that is not using Copilot is currently retrenching half their staff.
Wow. So there you go. Copilot is anyhow shit. I'm sorry, but Copilot is
I try to use Copilot. I actually try to like it. It's just a steaming pile of junk.
It is. Most definitely. Now, thank you. Great session, Tim. This one, I'm sorry, you guys, you still haven't finished, but yeah.
Any other questions from anyone else before I go?
No, I'm not. It's unlimited potential.
Oh, yes.
And it's super cheap. It's not
expensive.
No, it's not expensive.
So while Tim was doing that, I actually got it to do, so I'm in the middle of a house renovation, and there's 6 work fronts, and there's 10 different trades involved, and there's always a whole bunch of this before that. And so I actually got it to write effectively a bespoke version of project that just is a basic HTML format for me and my wife. We can sit there and put the things in there. We don't need to learn a new software. And so, like Tim was saying before, software providers are done, because I literally wrote my own piece of software for my specific task to learn anything. I added the functions in as I wanted it. I can actually share it between my wife and I. Job done. I don't need to buy a project. I don't need to learn how to use it. I just wrote my own.
Absolutely.
And there's one other thing. You know how there's open source software?
Yep.
Go and find some open source software that does what you want, stick it into Claude Code, and then say, I want to edit this or make this my own version. And it will go and fork, and it can read all the code. So that's where all these models have been learnt on anyway. So all the models know this software. So if you want to build your own little GIS or whatever you want to build, or CAD program, or finance module, or whatever, just go and find one online that's open source and mash it out yourself.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim.
Hey guys.
Thanks, Randall.
Time.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks
Cheers.
everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.